Hello, friends. Hey, I'm going to be straight to the core right now. I'm going to ask you, are you a people pleaser? Are you a people pleaser? I think that most women, if not all, are people pleasers for various reasons. And it is certainly something that have had to look at over my life. And I would not put myself in the category anymore of being one, being a people pleaser. And I have a lot of compassion for all of us who have been there and maybe still are, because there's a lot of fear, right? There's a lot of fear. And it basically gets in the way of living in our sovereignty, to be fully free to who we are and not be afraid that here it is that others may not like us. That is a big fear. I can still find it in me when I'm interacting. I can feel the old tendency to do it. And sometimes I hear myself saying certain things in a way where I know, like, oh, I'm trying to please this person. It's not strong, it's not a lot, but that pattern, I can still kind of smell a flavor of it. And so I know how deep this goes and how we have been programmed to not be who we are, and especially as women, to make sure that everybody is taken care of before ourselves. And in that way, we deny ourselves uh, love, right? We deny ourselves love. And, I've talked a lot about this whole self love thing. And when we don't give ourselves love, we literally cut ourselves off from the divine, from our natural, organic, divine flow, because that is love. There is no other love than the divine, and it is everywhere, of course. So what we do is like, oh, they might get hurt if I say no. So we dishonor the part in us that really wants to say no, because we don't want to do what they want to do or what they want us to do or whatever it is. So we say yes because we don't want to hurt them. We're hurting. We're hurting. Just that little action, we just cut ourselves off from the divine. That means our body, our physicality, our emotions, our expression is not fueled with love. I'm not saying there is no love at all, but it's like if you see the love flow as a hose, right? And we just made a kink in it. So now all the water, all the love cannot flow out to us, and through us. So it's not only that we cut ourselves off from love, we basically cut off the love, our natural flow of love to others. It cannot reach others. So if you think that you don't want to hurt somebody, and therefore you basically hurt yourself by denying your truth, you're not loving this person. You cannot flow true love to somebody when you deny it for yourself. I know this might be a big statement for a lot of people, specifically women, because we're so conditioned, we're so programmed, to deny ourselves, to ignore ourselves, to say yes to others, no to ourselves, to be the last one in line. And if there's nothing left, that's fine. I can go without. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Because it is a beautiful, I mean, it can be a beautiful sacrifice of love. So I'm not poo-pooing it at all, but it depends on where we are coming from, right? If you are not constantly denying yourself the love of the divine, the universal love, then you will flow it. And then it's no big deal if you say, why don't you take that? Or don't you take that last piece of chocolate cake or something? I'm fine without it. You're not doing that because you're denying yourself something. You're just full and you don't need it. You are happy to let somebody else have it who might need or want it more than you do. So that's a different type of saying no to something, even though, if there were five more pieces left, you might take one. But there is a clear balance between or there's not a balance. There's a clear gap between denying yourself what fulfills you because you are afraid what others might say about you. They might not like you anymore. They might not love you anymore. They may say you are, here's the word, selfish. That's the worst word a people pleaser can hear, can receive about themselves. You're selfish. Like, oh my God, that is awful. Can you relate? Maybe not all the way through. I'm sure most of us here have done enough of work that we can, we have stepped out of it. But there are many people who are constantly denying their own needs being met in order to not be seen as selfish or wanting or hurting other people or being rude, right? Is it rude to say no to something? Well, if you are a people pleaser, it probably feels rude. If you ask somebody if they will help you with something and you say no because you have a very valid reason, they may perceive that you're rude or you are afraid that they're gonna perceive you as being rude. But there's nothing wrong or rude about saying no to something that is not right for you. There's many other ways you can work around this by really being authentic about it. It's not just like, no, I don't want to do that. That can feel a little harsh. But you can say, if my circumstances were different, I would love to help you. But, I really have to take care of this, so I can't help you today. Or I can't lend you this money because I can barely pay my own rent this month. You share your own experience. So it's not rude or bad or selfish. It's just like, I'm here too. And even though I would like to help you, my heart would like to help you, but circumstances, are dictating something else. It will be received in a very different way on the other side. They'll say, okay, I understand. No big deal. But if you just say, no, I don't want to help you, you may go like, wow, that was harsh. So it's again, what it's about is finding our own sovereignty, which I certainly talked about it yesterday, I think, to really embrace our own sovereignty, which is the energy and the frequency of who we are when we don't suppress it and contract around it and deny ourselves that experience. There's nothing, you're just being you don't have to say like, no, I don't want to do it, because you're free to say, no, that doesn't really work for me today, or that doesn't resonate for me. It comes from a much softer, much kinder, much more loving way of expressing that. How do I know this? Well, I've been on the the first part where I would just say no. I would say it very harshly, or and there's also somehow a sense of fear in that, right? I'm afraid to say no, but I don't really want to say it. So when you say no, it comes to this, no. But when you're okay with saying no, you can just say, no, not really. It's not really true for me. So there's no charge in there. There's no contraction. There's no pretending or afraid that you're going to be rude or selfish when you actually say no to something. So I want to just stitch this um, people pleaser, sugar coating, false identity that many of us have been carrying around, that it is really, you literally step further away from your sovereignty. And people can feel that. Well, I can. I'm so sensitive. I'm sensitive to my own inner experience, and that has made me sensitive to others. So that it's actually, it can be helpful because I can feel, sense what's going on, and I can help them be present with it, right? So if we really want to be fully sovereign, and I think it was yesterday I talked about that this is absolutely the time that we start stepping into our sovereignty and be who we are without justifying, without defending, without arguing, right? That all comes from it's not okay to be sovereign. It comes through this contraction and it comes out harsh. We don't need that, but we do need to practice feeling comfortable in being who we are. When you're being who you are, you will not be people pleasing. Somebody who's not being who they are because they are denying their own true felt sense experience, they're not fully who they are. And that's why they have to people please, because they're carrying they want people to see them as something they are not yet. Right? If there's something I know, I don't want to do that, but it's selfish to say that you're not yourself. So you're not serving the other person. They may not notice it. It might be great. People might love you for being a people pleaser, but at a certain point, it's going to hit you in the butt. Because the more you cut off your divine flow, the more you will shrink. You might have aches and pains and, issues here, whatever happens, because you're literally putting a kink in the divine flow by not being true to yourself, by not being true to your divinity in its purity. So there really is a big difference to being selfless from the heart or being a people pleaser from fear. We might see the same actions, but the energy behind it is very, very different. And remember, what we send out in the world is what we will experience. So if we keep sending out fear that people may not like me and they might leave me, that might start happening. Or you might just have friends who are more superficial because that's what you are, right? You're not being true to yourself. And I know it is scary. It was very scary for me. And sometimes it still is. I think I shared something maybe a week ago where I felt I froze and I was not speaking what I wanted to speak. I was just being quiet. And that really made me see like, wow, Pernilla, That was interesting. So, it really takes time, but I'm not beating myself up for it. I'm like, oh, wow, I don't want to do that again. I want to stay in my heart, my truth, my authenticity, my sovereignty, and meet the world from there. And then, of course, more and more people will show up to meet me in that. If you want to be part of that, start practicing or start questioning, this whole people pleasing thing. You can always reach out to me if you want to explore it with me. We can go nice and deep and really find some juicy stuff that just is ready to let go so you can show up as you. And it's much more fun that way. And then the world, your interactions are going to be much deeper, much more meaningful, much more intimate. And at a certain point, it just makes no sense to pretend that you're not who you truly are. All right, friends, reach out if you need help. Please like, subscribe, share, all those goodies to help my channel grow and keep moving. And I'll see you again soon. Have a great day.